Well, hello again, folks. In the last segment, we saw just how severe and imminent the global warming problem is, and now we're going to look at how we can actually fix this thing and stop global warming altogether. Many people are resistant to a renewable future because they think they will have to sacrifice their current lifestyle to fight climate change. Well, this is not true. In my book, I outline a renewable infrastructure in which no scrimping, shrinking, or living small will be required. We'll be able to live with the same level of comfort and ease we enjoy today. Now, the major technologies involved here concern electricity, energy storage, motive fuel, and heating fuel. Now, the electricity part. The electricity part of this equation is advancing very quickly. The renewable infrastructure will use solar, wind, and hydro. And simply by continuing their demonstrated growth rate from earlier this century, they can provide all of our electricity by 2041 or earlier, and all of our power by 2048. The renewable revolution in electricity is in full tilt. Examples are Hawaii already has enough rooftop solar installed such that it has on occasion produced more than 100% of the state's electricity demand. Many cities, such as San Diego and San Jose, are committing to have 100% renewable generation by 2035. And solar in the US grew nearly 100% last year and is expected to more than triple by 2022, with an installed capacity of more than 100,000 megawatts, which is very nearly 10% of our nation's total electric power requirement. Energy storage. We need to be able to store vast quantities of energy when the sun isn't shining and the wind isn't blowing. Now, there are a lot of fledgling technologies being explored. There's a big focus on batteries. Well, even if battery costs can come down 99% from where they are now, the annual energy storage cost provided by batteries would be more than twice our entire annual economic output. We can't get there from here with batteries. There is, however, a proven technology that can store large quantities of energy, which has been around for nearly 4 decades and is just now starting to be recognized. It is also cost-effective. This technology is compressed air energy storage, or CAES, as it's known in the industry. The heart of these plants is in the storage of compressed air. This is the driving force that turns the electrical generator, generates the electricity that's fed out onto the grid. A typical such plant, as envisioned by the Electric Power Research Institute, could provide 300 megawatts of power for 8 hours at a time on a single charge of compressed air. And these plants are actually starting to appear in different parts of the country, including Alabama, California, New York, and Texas. Motive fuel. In order to make any serious headway on the global warming problem, fossil fuel needs to be eliminated from the transportation sector. Now, the typical mantra we hear is we need to electrify and replace our fossil burners with battery electric vehicles. While this may work for some people, the problem is that there is no battery electric technology that exists today or in the definable future that can truly replace the internal combustion engine. They are plagued by a variety of currently insurmountable problems, among them being they don't have the range, they take forever to recharge, and they're too small to be viable on a mass scale. Fuel cell vehicles, on the other hand, or FCVs as they're also known, are a fully developed vehicle class going to be deployed on a mass scale right now. And they overcome all of the problems that continue to plague the battery electrics. Current FCVs have a range of 250 to 360 miles on a single tank of fuel, depending on the kind of FCV you have. They can be fully fueled in about 5 minutes, just as you would fuel your traditional car. Fuel cells are designed to last the life of the vehicle, not requiring replacement. And FCVs are scalable. Fuel cell-powered buses have been in operation for more than a decade in various areas. Heavy-duty fuel cell-powered trucks are in field trials right now at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. Fuel cell-powered locomotives are on the drawing boards right now in Germany, and Germany and China both have fuel cell-powered light rail trains in operation today. From forklifts to trains, if it rolls on wheels, fuel cells can power them. I believe that once this technology is embraced by the public, oil will become obsolete and we'll be able to truly turn the corner on global warming. This technology is that important. Heating fuel. Natural gas, propane, and coal are widely used to provide heat for cooking, heating, and industrial operations. These CO2-emitting hydrocarbon fuels can easily be replaced with renewably generated electricity and hydrogen. Electric appliances already exist, we just use more of them. Also, renewably generated electricity can be used to make hydrogen from water. We can replace natural gas, propane, and coal with hydrogen for use in providing heat, and this includes cooking, water and space heating, and industrial application. The technology isn't sexy, but it works. So there's no technological impediment to being able to convert to a fully renewable society right now. Well, we know we have the technology to fix the problem. The problem is we don't have the time. To stave off a runaway global warming event, we need to be done with this conversion by about 2025. Now, what do you suppose the odds are of being able to actually do this in the next 8 years? Somewhere between none and none, right? Exactly. So to buy the time we need to be able to interrupt the warming process somehow. But how are we going to do that? Well, we know that large volcanoes can temporarily cool the planet, and using data and facts from various historic large volcanic eruptions, we can create an engineered volcano and achieve the same effect artificially. This process is known as geoengineering, or climate engineering. It was first studied in the 1960s under President Johnson's administration. The concept is, if we can shroud the planet in a reflective material, we can temporarily cool the surface. And we can accomplish this by air and by sea. By air, a fleet of 75 commercial-sized jets could disperse enough reflective material in the upper atmosphere in about 12 months to cool the surface of the planet 0.2 of a degree Celsius. Need more cooling? Simply put up more jets. Very straightforward. Now, there's a great deal of controversy surrounding this, and much of it is valid. Compounds presently being dispersed can have a whole litany of negative effects, like acid rain and neurological disorders. There's a significant danger factor if the compounds are not reformulated. The good news is that more benign compounds are being developed presently. And by sea, we can create a manufactured Arctic cloud layer with specially designed ships plying the Arctic Ocean that can atomize seawater to create a reflective cloud cover to keep direct sunlight from hitting the surface and heating it. So to stop global warming and prevent the demise of mankind, we're kind of against the wall. We may have to do some things that we may not want to do, but if we're to preserve the earth for our grandchildren, we really don't have a choice. If we do nothing or too little, we decimate the planet and 90% of the world's population will die. Or, if we actually solve this thing, we will restore the earth to its wondrous beauty and mankind can thrive. So we know we can actually stop global warming. What can each of us do in our own lives to help preserve the earth for our children and grandchildren? And we will look at that in our final segment. In the meantime, I would encourage you to look at the various booths here today because they all have a lot of great information in this regard, as do the other speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Time for Q&A. Do we have some questions? There's some pretty challenging ideas that he's put up here. So, Claire. Hey, Orlando.
The geoengineering, climate engineering stuff. Okay,
Can you repeat the question, please? I don't think most
wants
of us
more
Yes,
tech.
thanks. I wanted to just get a little more information about this geoengineering
Right.
proposal to
Right.
jumpstart our response.
Yeah. The technology is very straightforward, and you put up certain compounds in the upper atmosphere, and they actually do reflect a small amount of the sun's incoming energy, which has the effect of temporary cooling of the planet. Now, it doesn't last forever because those particles all drift back to the Earth over time. So you have to redo this like every couple of years. Now, there's a lot of downsides to this. Like I mentioned a couple of them. There's also things like, as we march towards this renewable future and we're still belching out carbon dioxide emissions and things like that, though the planet isn't heating up because we've temporarily cooled it with a shroud, the CO2 levels keep going up and up and up. And one of the major problems is that some of that carbon dioxide gets driven into the ocean, which greatly exacerbates ocean acidification. It's a big problem. That's a huge thing that's happening. Our oceans are being killed right before our eyes. Now, these compounds, it's happening now. In case you, just for your information, remember back in 2015, towards the end, they were looking for El Nino to kind of save us, okay? Well, it worked okay in the northern part of California and up there in northern states. But here in Southern California, El Nino turned into El Nono. And because by the end of the season, we only had 53% of normal rainfall. Well, I don't know if you noticed, but I did. Starting in February of 2016 through November of 2016, relentless, what they call chemtrails, again and again, all day long, it was relentless. The objective was to cool locally the southwest here to break the high pressure zone over the southwest to allow the moisture-laden air from the ocean to come in. Well, it worked, and it worked real well. As you know, the drought's like, what drought? So the process works. Well, like I said, there's lots of negative effects. Like one of the things that concerns people about doing this is that it's just an excuse to continue to use fossil fuel. And we've known about it for decades of how to do this. So, is that a long answer to a short question? No, you're welcome.
Another question? Okay.
Well, what about the particles that they're putting up there and then they fall? I heard that they were strontium and illuminate and stuff.
The two that I'm most familiar with are sulfur dioxide, which comes out of volcanoes anyway.
Oh.
And so that can result in acid rain, things like that. But that happens naturally with large volcanoes, so the environment will reabsorb that stuff over time. The other thing that's being used, from what I've read, is aluminum dust. Now, they say that they put the aluminum dust into the jet fuel because it increases performance. Yeah, but it also has a shrouding effect because it's reflective. The problem is when it comes back down to Earth, it's so fine, you actually breathe it in, and it gets into your system, and you can't get it out. So that's, yeah, which is why they're reformulating this stuff, because they know if we're going to be doing this for decades, we got to fix it and do it more intelligently. Yep. I've answered everybody's questions.
The main idea is not to continue carbon-based fossil fuel. Let's begin now, right?
That's correct.
Okay, do we have another question? Anyway, the answer to the last question, I think, was every problem has its solutions and every solution has its problems.
God, that's a great way to put that.
And there we are.
Absolutely.
But we're working on it. So long
Yes,
as
we
we
are.
know where we're going, go in with our eyes wide open, maybe we'll find an answer.
That's right.
Okay, more
Okay.
questions on this one?
Okay.
No more questions? Thank you very much, Craig.
Thanks, John.